Hello, thank you very much for joining me in episode 5 of Women in Sport. I'm Rhian Evans, and this week we are looking at rugby on the island. Lauren Ellison is back again because she is a multi-talented athlete, of course, at netball, basketball and rugby. Lauren, can you start us off, just so I can get your levels right? Can you give me your full name and how you got into rugby in the first place?
Okay, so my name's Lauren Ellison. Rugby has kind of been in my family since I can remember. So my auntie actually played for Vagabond, still plays for Vagabond, so I play with her now. So when I was younger, I went up to Vagabond's training. It must have been from when I was about 6 or 7, 8. Probably older than that, actually, 7 or 8. I was going up to Vagabond's. But unfortunately, there wasn't any girls there. There's maybe 1 or 2. And within the rules of rugby, you can only play up to a certain age against the boys. And then you have to start. So as there wasn't any girls, there was nothing really much for me to do. Girls rugby on the island wasn't really a thing then. So I kind of just got put to the side. So I thought, I've lost interest in this. Dipped out. Then properly came back to it when I was about 18 because my mum's partner was coaching the ladies team and they were like, come along for extra fitness. Then I was away at uni and they were like, oh, well, you just come and help us out for a game because we're short. So I got the train up. I missed all them trains. It was horrible, I remember. Someone hit me. I didn't like it. I had to hit her back. And then 7, 8 years later, still going. So, yeah.
I remember, was it your aunt played basketball as well? It sounds like you've got a very sporty female side of the family.
Yeah, there's a lot of so my mum played basketball and I think growing up my auntie went along with her, so everyone's kind of done a little bit of everything. I've got aunties playing hockey, netball, basketball, dancers, just a lot of sport going on.
And it sounds like last time you said basketball was thriving back in the day and it's sort of petered out, but this sounds like it's the other way around where there wasn't much rugby around, but hopefully that is growing now.
Yeah, I'd like to hope so. So at the time there was Vagabond's ladies team, and I know there's been previous teams before, and Vagabond's ladies weren't as prolific, so they weren't in a league, they were funding themselves, getting through everything. So as over the years it has really come up, and like I said, girls rugby, as you'll hear from Daisy later on, has really come on as well. So yeah, it's all going in the right direction.
Perfect. So Lauren kind of got drawn into it over time, and it was just she punched a girl and that's what sold it for her. What about you, Daisy? How can you give me your full name and how you got into rugby?
I'm Daisee Sewell. I got into rugby from actually watching it just nationally on TV. I really liked it. I think it's my favourite sport to watch. My dad and my younger brother both, but my dad played when he was younger and my younger brother plays now, so I helped them train my younger brother, so I kind of got into that slowly. And then just before summer, I heard about Vaggers rugby, and then I decided, I'll come along, see how it is. We were doing some like training sessions to start off with, getting our fitness up. I really enjoyed that because I used to swim, but I had to stop that. It was just too time consuming, but it was nice to get back into it, exercise with people. So. And then we moved into like proper season rugby, and it was just so nice to have so many people into like one sport. Yeah, and lots of ladies really enthusiastic.
Absolutely.
It's really nice.
That's really interesting because not many people say they start a sport from watching it on telly. I mean, I think you get that a lot with football, but that's a really unexpected answer, so that's really interesting. Was it because your brother and your dad played that you sort of started watching, or had you always just found it interesting?
Well, my dad was like, we're an England supporter, my dad always watched it on TV, so it was all about, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then around probably like 11, I suddenly watched a game, and it was against Wales and England, and I just remember being so excited when they scored a try, and England did win that game, and I was just like, wow, this is so cool how like a team, like 15 men or women can do something so amazing, can create something, and they were just so passionate about it. It's amazing.
Lovely. Yeah, absolutely. Sami, can you give us your full name and your backstory?
Yeah, so my name's Sami Varrall, and I actually got into rugby via hockey, strangely. So
they're both quite aggressive sports, I feel. I mean, a lot of sports are aggressive, but I always feel rugby and hockey you have to be
as
tough.
well, so yeah, I'm used to being hit.
Taking no nonsense,
We started entering a touch rugby competition that Chris Brannigan runs. And we did that with a few of the Vikings lot. And then we did that for about 3 years, I think, and saw some of the Vegas girls down, and they were like, "Oh, you're really good." They were watching one of our games. You girls should come up and get involved. And that was it, really. I went to a training session, was made to feel incredibly welcome. So it's always a bit nervous turning up and you don't really know anyone. You're like, I know not very much about this sport apart from what you watch on telly. And yeah, I've not looked back since.
It's that's a really good point, actually, because we do talk about loads of sports are trying to like up their numbers and they're promoting welcome days, and a big thing is come down. I know it's nerve-wracking, but please just like come down. I promise you it's not that scary. So it's brilliant to have someone say that they got into that sport from purely, you know, taking a leap of faith and going down. Yeah, that's really good. And last but certainly not least, Natalie.
So my name's Natalie Bush. I guess 9 years ago I kind of started a bit of a fitness journey, I suppose, and I'd done some bits and pieces by myself, but decided that I really needed to get into a team sport, which is something that I hadn't done before. I was a massive football fan, had never watched rugby, didn't understand the concept of this game, and somebody that I worked with who played for Vaggers said, "Why don't you come along to the rugby fit sessions that we now do at the start of the season? You can do that, you don't need to play the sport, just come along and do the fitness." So I turned up, gave that a go, really enjoyed training with other people, loved the fact that there were so many different types of people, there was all ages, all sizes, all fitnesses. I felt really, really welcome and kind of stuck at it, and all of a sudden the fitness part was over and we were going to start actually playing rugby and learning the sport, and I stuck it out and thought might as well give it a go and see if I enjoy it and love it.
Lovely. Oh,
can I just add about the friendliness thing? Like I've done a lot of sports that have been individual. So I've done horse riding, swimming, just all about. And I think I did a bit of hockey as well, actually, when I was really young. But I think rugby's been the like only sport I felt really in a team. Like people are so welcoming and lovely.
Makes such a difference, doesn't it? I grew up doing athletics, and I remember, I mean, there's kind of a team sense in it, but it's not the same as like playing netball and kind of stepping on court knowing that you're with your team, you know, and the same with rugby and football and whatnot. It is a lovely, lovely feeling. Lauren, I think actually most women who play rugby that I've spoken to mention the fitness aspect of rugby. So can you just enlighten me what a typical fitness session is? Because I'm imagining kind of like Rocky style running through the sea with like a small horse on your back, you know.
If we could acquire us, no. So typically there's a lot of running. There's a lot of up and down. So you're on the floor quite a lot. Quite often you hear the phrase you're going to get muddy in a game, so you might as well get muddy now. Up and down the bank. Piggybacks, wheelbarrows, carry it. We did one the other day where we had all the equipment out and you had to get it from one end to the other without touching the floor. That also included 2 people. They couldn't touch the floor, but they had to go through a tyre as well without touching the floor. I mean, it's really versatile, and we can play different games. So we play rugby netball, we play kick rounders, so we try and get the other games in as well. But if I was to think, I'd say a lot of running and a lot of up, downs, burpees, sliding.
It sounds intense, but it sounds like they make it as fun as it possibly can.
Yeah.
I think so. Just silence.
Doing it with other people definitely helps.
And
so you're not by yourself.
Just getting mucky and don't really care about it, then it doesn't matter.
Must be quite satisfying. I mean, people pay for mud baths, don't they? So you're getting fit.
Cleansed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably one of my favourite parts of it. Is it maybe the only chance as an adult to get muddy and to roll around in the mud.
Well,
and
exactly.
There is a lot of running around, but you don't really feel the same as if someone says, oh, just go and run laps and laps and laps, because it's always part of a game or part of a team sport. And I know through, if you go out for a run yourself, you'll, kind of do as much as you feel you need to do, whereas when it's part of a team thing or a relay thing, or, your team needs to get back first, then you push yourself that bit harder,
yeah.
And everyone's cheering you on, everyone wants you to do well. There's no kind of massive egos that, I want to be the best person here. It's actually, I want my team to be the best team. So It's kind of
it's one thing
nice
I do
thing,
find.
yeah.
You see that everyone is cheering each other on, and like Nat said earlier, people have different sizes, different speeds, different, like, we all have to play different positions, they've got a different job. But say someone is perhaps a little bit further behind, a lot of us will go and join in and we'll do the extra bit. So it is that team spirit is there.
Makes
throughout.
a huge difference. That really, really does. And I think that's makes a team sport. That's why so many people love it. Yeah, that makes it what it is, because I think you can play a team sport and have not very nice teammates. I've seen it. They're horrible to each other, shouting at each other, and it completely destroys the heart of the game, I think. So
I think compared to other team sports, and I've played a few over the years still now, you cannot get by on that pitch without your team. Like, you need them to ruck over you to look after the ball, because if no one's there, ball's gone, they're out. So you literally, like, I know you need your team in basketball and netball, but I could probably get down the court myself a little bit without them. In them sports, in rugby, I'd be gone. You need that team.
It's nice as well that you don't necessarily need 15 identical looking people or people with the same skills, because you need your fast people, but you also need your strong people, you need your really agile people, you need your kind of workhorses, I guess, that'll just keep going and going and going, and everyone just kind of thrives off each other and appreciates it. You need all those different characters on the pitch. Absolutely. And that makes a massive difference.
Really inclusive in terms of variety.
Massively so. I think a lot of sports people might think that they're not fit enough to join, or they think they're too big, too stocky, or whatever it is. But I think often with rugby, people worry that they're too small. But I mean, we've got so many different people on the team, and all the clubs that we play across, it's consistent across every club that there is so many different people playing the sport. It's probably the most inclusive sport that I can think of.
How often do you get to play teams across, and when you do go, what's the sort of standard of play like in comparison to on the island?
So we go away, depending on how our games are scheduled, we could go away every other weekend for a game across. The teams vary massively, I find. So our first game of the season was against Lee. Compared to some other teams that we've played, they are a completely different type of team to play against. They're all massively tall, very stocky, and it takes 2 or 3 of you to get them down to the floor. Whereas other teams you find that have absolutely rapid wingers on their team, and you're having to structure the team differently to combat that.
Constantly adapting and thinking.
Yeah, so it's all like a massive diverse type of game.
Yeah, I mean, it keeps it interesting, certainly, doesn't it? Having so much diversity from person to person and game to game.
Yeah, I'd say typically each year there's 8 teams in a league, so that would mean we'd have 7 home games, so they'll come to us, and 7 away games. Even from home to away, it can be a different team. Like, if I think of us, our travelling team is never the same as our home team. It could, because to go away, it's a whole day commitment. You're on that, usually on the red eye flight, you're not back till 8 o'clock. So when I think about, we've got a few people with families, we've got jobs, there's lots going on, so to go away, it is a big commitment. You have to sign into that. And Bala Fletcher, we seem to have something's behind us when we're at home, and it's something that's like a different game. So even for us, we can change from game to game as well.
What's the fun? Sorry, Daisy, were you going to say something then?
I was just going to say about going away. It was my first time going away ever with them. It must have been about 4 weeks ago now. It was. I don't know what I was really expecting, to be honest. I didn't think I had much expectations to it, but it was really nice. That it was really serious before the game. I think everyone knew they had a job to do, and then I was just doing water and whatever when they were playing, and it was nice to see people achieving what they'd worked on in the training, and then on the way back it was a lot more partying atmosphere, which was nice as well, because
the important part.
Yeah. Censor some of these parts.
Yeah.
What's funding like to help you go away to play? Because I didn't realise you went away that much, because speaking to the football girls last week, they have the opportunity to play teams and stuff, but there's nothing set in stone. So you have a quite consistent thing going by the sounds of it, which is brilliant. But do you have to fund it all yourselves?
I think unless things have changed in the last year, that now it's predominantly kind of club funded with RFU backing, that the clubs do have to put in percentages towards travel, and obviously because Vagabond's got the men's team and the women's team, then there's kind of extra funding that needs to go on there. The club predominantly pays for any coach travel, so that's flights kind of paid by RFU with club subsidy, and then you've got the coach travel on top of that. Our subs that we pay go towards it as well. So the funding is there at the moment, but I mean, the year when I started 9 years ago, the women's game wasn't funded, and we had to do a lot of fundraising to be able to go, and we were putting on fundraising events every month. So it's nice to kind of have a more of a level playing field now with the funding. But as with, I think, most things, there's always going to be cutbacks, and you're just kind of grateful that there is that funding and hope that it continues. But
Absolutely.
it's just offshore
position
travel,
as
yeah.
the only ladies team on the islands, which is why we go away so much, because otherwise we couldn't play. But as the only ladies team, I think we do get the funding. Like the men, they do get it, but we are quite fortunate that hopefully that it should continue, and hopefully.
Good. Do you know what it was that changed from having to fund it yourself and then all of a sudden the club supporting you?
I don't know a lot of the detail, but it was mainly to do with the kind of merging of, they used to have the women's RFU and the men's RFU, and they were kind of separate entities, and then when they merged the two together, they couldn't differentiate between the funding between the men and women. They couldn't say, well, we'll fund the men and not the women, so they had to then balance it out across the teams, which is
That's
right,
really good.
you know,
Yeah, quite right.
should go. But
so I was going to ask about numbers. So there's only one women's rugby team on the island. Only one.
yes.
There have been a few that have tried and tested before, and like so we've spoken about age. So I don't think we mentioned yet. The Daisee, how old are you, Daisee?
I'm 15.
15. So she can't
I'm
actually
quite a
play with
baby.
us yet. So
How old do you have to be to play?
17 with permission, 18 fully to play with us and everything, and similar with the boys as well. It's all age graded, so you have to play within your age range and certain stuff. So other teams have tried, like recently I'd say Nomads have tried, and we went down to try and help, because I mean, to have another team on the island would be amazing for us, because we can't get, it's hard to get pre-season friendlies. We can't, like, our first game, I didn't play, but your first game was the other week when they go, so that is like a pre-season. That's your first trial of what's actually been happening. So we went and tried and helped, but to get as 15 players that can turn out week in, week out is really difficult. Like I said, we struggle to get people to commit to away games and so it is a hard task to, I think, for any other team. I mean, if anyone wants, we'd love another team on the island, but at the moment I think we're international. Does that make us international?
Yeah, definitely claim it. Daisy, I love your commitment. Sorry, Natalie. Sorry, Natalie.
No, I was just going to say, it's always something that I found bizarre, that to try and get, I mean, I think we've probably got 30 people now in the team that, you know, not necessarily that can play week in, week out, but maybe 30 people. But I know the island's only small, but the fact that there is only 30 is still quite sad, I think. And I hope that it does start to pick up, because, like you say, to have two teams within our club would be great. But yeah, if another club could manage to field a team, then it would be great to have some competition on Ireland and someone to play against, and just to boost the sport, really. But
it is really sad, like with listening to you talk about it, and obviously seeing how passionate you all are. It is genuinely sad when you just don't, like, it sounds like a kid, you've got no one to play with, you know.
yeah, it's just such a hard
shame.
sell.
Yeah,
I mean, once you play it, you realise that it's like the greatest sport, and it's so much fun, and it doesn't hurt. I mean, it can hurt, but you know, any sport can hurt. You can get it wrong, but it's such a hard sell, and it's just trying to convince people to try it once, and then you either love it or you hate it. But
why?
The age as well. Uni's a big thing. So
Yeah.
people maybe don't start playing it till they go away to uni and discover it there. Like, it is coming in more in schools now, so hopefully that'll make a bit of a difference. But I think with the going away to uni, that's it, because I know a lot of the teams we play, they've got uni girls playing for them, so that I think is a bit of a hindrance.
The consistent thing does seem to come back to schools, and sort of, if you sort of widen that sport curriculum, that would be the best way to get more girls playing a wider range of sport. Talking about it being a hard sell, what do you find are the most annoying stereotypes that people have about women's rugby?
I think I guess you've got this kind of general idea that we're a bunch of thugs that just really,
I'm just gonna throw it out
there.
there.
This kind of
the football girls said
this
that,
kind
yeah.
of butch lesbian kind of aggressive group,
Yeah,
where
that
You said that in the most ladylike way, Daisy. Not very ladylike.
yeah, I guess that's the biggest kind of thing that you're up against is that image, and I don't know where that comes from, because
Well, I was gonna
I
say,
don't
where does that come
Couldn't
from?
be further from the truth, because you think about the game, it's one of the most respectful games I've ever played. Like, the captain is the only person that can speak to the ref. If anyone else speaks to them, they get told off, they can get a yellow. So it's one of the most respectful games. Don't get me wrong, there's going to be moments. So, like, there's a few games where we've had some hair pulls and some eyes and some pinching, biting, like
name calling.
Yeah.
Boots to the head.
But yeah, I mean, it can happen, but I don't know where that. I think it comes from the lads, because the boys are quite. You see some lads teams and they're quite that, like Larry. Don't get me wrong, but it's hard.
I think even just looking at the kind of international women's teams, they don't kind of reaffirm that stereotype either. It's just so far from the truth. But I guess trying to get people to change their perception of something, when I think a lot of people still don't even know that we have a women's rugby team on Ireland. So you're kind of trying to change people's mindsets when they don't actually know what's going on. So
I think one of the big ones, I heard someone even within our older members of our club, and they were like, oh no, not the girls, it won't be a good game, no, we won't go and watch them. And they said, just I think it was Gordon, our chairman, he went, just go and watch them, just go and see. And they were like, oh my god, it's a different game. And like, now they come and they watch, but it's so people within even our own club initially, where, and don't get me wrong, they back us now, but it is just changing that mindset, even from where Vagabonds were originally as a ladies team, change it to actually, no, it is a really different game now. It isn't just running it in with this plays, there's fancy things going on, we know what we're doing. So
Absolutely, it does just sound like people have got this image in their head that's been there, God, since we were in primary school. I remember that reputation being surrounding women's rugby, and it did usually come from the boys saying it. And the girls who came in for football said that those sort of butch lesbian stereotypes usually originated from the boys saying it. And then, don't know, it was kind of like you were stuck between a rock and a hard place, because if you played, you weren't good enough, and then if you did play and you were good enough, then you must have been a lesbian. Do you know what I mean? So I just think those sort of things surely shouldn't be around nowadays, and it's quite bad that they are. So how do you break those stereotypes?
I think it's just getting people to actually come down and see probably that it's not like that. So I don't know, it's difficult, isn't it? Because
it's hard to explain.
Yeah. Because when you're actually there, it's not like that at all. It's not just like some people messing around, because I know I was reluctant to actually get involved in it to start off with, because I love watching it and everything and playing it in like a family zone, and I was a bit like, oh, what if it doesn't live up to like the enjoyment of that, and it kind of gets wrecked for me. But that can't be like further from the truth. It's enhanced it. So I just maybe give it a bit of a chance.
Well, it's a brilliant sport in terms of like speed, agility, strength, coordination and teammanship. You know, you've covered everything there. So even if you went and played rugby for a little bit, it would probably improve your game in any other sport as well, really, because it just has everything, doesn't it? It offers everything. What would you say to people who are thinking, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind trying rugby, but I don't want to get hurt? And I know we mentioned this before. What would you say to those people who are worried about coming off with like a smashed face or something?
It could happen. Can't say never, but if you know what, like, I'm all about contact avoidance. I would do anything to avoid getting hit or being in tackle. So I'm love an offload, love a passing it to someone. So it's knowing how to get around it as well, and also if you're quicker than them, you can get past them. But you can't say never. I think Sami, you've had a
yeah, we've had a bit of a. So when I first started, there were people. We got the option: do you want to try contact or not? And there were people that would step out, and you can use tackle bags and you can use other things to like get you into it. Well, I launched straight into it, and I think I winded Lauren because I did it completely wrong. But then after a couple of goes and having someone brave enough to say, yeah, I'll let her practice, you get it. With the guidance, you get it.
Yeah, it's just a knowledge thing.
I'm not allowed to play contact because I'm too young, and even though I like that aspect of the game.
Unless you had more people your age.
Yeah, that's true. But we basically play tag anyway, so that gets you into the idea of the sport and how it works without obviously getting hurt. So
And everyone loves tag.
yeah.
Saying that, like, you could get your foot stuck in the ground and roll your ankle. Like in tag, you could go to stop someone. So,
Well, exactly.
but you could do that in any sport. I mean,
Well, I
look at
mean,
you.
we were saying, like, netball, I did my Achilles last November, and since then there's been 3 ACL injuries
Told you, more
from
injuries in netball.
what has been, it's now a contested sport, but what people regard as a non-contact sport, you know, horrendous injuries. So I don't think people have an excuse when they say I don't want to get injured. So
No, I'd say it's more superficial. The stuff you can get, like, you come away from games, you've got
covered in
scratches,
bruises.
bruises, but if you're happy to take a few of them, maybe come party season at Christmas, get a sort of think about your dresses and your tan. But other than that,
they can be quite good to show off, though. I think a good bruise like
Battle
shows that you've
wounds.
worked hard. Yeah.
I remember you
Battle
had a
wounds,
cracking
yeah.
black eye, didn't you?
I went through a phase of I had 3 black eyes in one season, having never had a black eye in my life. I think once you get one, I think you just seem to be more susceptible, and I just obviously stick my face in the wrong place at all times. But it becomes a conversation point. Also, like 2 years ago, we did the TT triathlon swim challenge, and there was, I think, 3 of us out of our 4 team were rugby players, and we were swimming on Sundays, and we did get some really odd looks because we were really quite battered and bruised, and then going swimming on a Sunday, it's quite entertaining sometimes to make people wonder why you are black and blue.
It's bad as well if you bruise easily. Like, I bruise really, like, incredibly easily. And I came away from a training session and had bruises all down my legs, and we weren't even doing contact. So I don't even know. We're there comparing half the time.
Yeah, well, no, my mum's the same. I mean, you could like sort of poke her to get her attention, and it'll just be like black arm, you know. So, I know we're talking about not worrying about being injured in rugby because, of course, you can get injured like a lot more dramatically in many other sports. But what have been your worst injuries in rugby?
I think so. You've probably got the worst one, haven't you?
Oh yeah. So when I started, I started in 2017, and I was halfway through the season, and I took a tackle, and she just, I don't know how she managed it, but my foot got stuck, and as she hit me in the ground, my knee smashed off the ground, and I tore my meniscus. So I was in a brace for 3 months, missed the rest of the season. Karina was on to me, coming back next year. Yeah, definitely up for it. Then I had a baby, so missed all of last season as well.
Is that counting as an injury?
Well, I'm leading to, I think that has helped me recover that time off, because if I hadn't have given myself that extra time, I think I would still be struggling now, whereas I've come back this season, and touch wood, it's all feeling fine so far. So, but yeah,
Good.
you can get some dodgy ones, but like Lauren says, that only happened because I got stuck in
An
random
awkward
position.
Yeah.
So,
Anyone else? Any horrendous injuries to speak of?
I broke a bone in my hand the season before last, but most of my injuries have almost been self-inflicted. I mean, I broke the bone in my hand during the warm-up because I'd done a bit of a self-tape job on my fingers and taped my fingers so solidly together that I basically left my bone nowhere to go and just to break when I fell. So that was kind of self-inflicted. And any other injuries I've had, I mean, I have injured both shoulders at times through falling funny, but I also know people who run as a hobby and have done the exact same injury through falling and landing on your shoulder. So I think it's my own stupidity, but to actually be cast was probably the worst one, and I got to experience UK A&E waiting times, which were actually surprisingly quicker than I thought. So made the flight.
Got there and got to the airport.
Yeah, it was
That's impressive.
was.
I think one of my favourite injuries, not for me, can you have a favourite injury? Anyway, I have. One of my favourite ones was Izzy, what did she break? Both hands. Both fingers on both hands. It's one of the best things I've ever seen, because she just couldn't, like, this was a hand, and then they were all gone.
Again though, she got her hands caught in someone's rugby top,
Yeah.
so it was, it's not, I think, like I say, kind of touch wood, the injuries come from the most silly things that aren't necessarily directly rugby contact
my thumbs
related.
and fingers pop out, but that's just, like I say, getting them caught on stuff, so
Yeah.
it's not.
and also, if you're going to get an injury, you're going to hope for a break because
Yeah.
it heals quicker.
Yeah.
Mine took forever.
I've kind of
So-
always been of the opinion that people are kind of soft and squishy, and for me, the thought of playing hockey with a solid ball and a big wooden stick is much more scary to me than the thought of someone running at me. But it's just like I say, it's kind of
It is.
mindset
All the
for
ones I can
people.
think for us, it's usually been because of the pitch. If I think about Katrina, her ankle, she went Kerry when we were there, and Steph. They've all they've been injuries, but they've probably been because of the ground and, like you say, people's own
Haley.
not wrongdoings, but just going in and maybe put themselves in the wrong position or something. So that's why training's very important, to make sure you are keeping yourself as safe as possible.
Absolutely. But no, I totally agree with you. I would feel much more comfortable going and playing rugby than I would going and playing hockey, because I just
Monday and Wednesday.
And the football girls are like, are you gonna come along? I actually would. Do you have like a summer league at all? A sort of fun summer league to...
No, but something to consider. We could do like a summer touch. That could be something.
Yeah, I think anything. That's a great idea. I think anything that we could do to try and get people to give it a go. That's the thing. It's it's almost a bit of an all or nothing sport, full contact rugby. So it's trying to get
Bridge the
something
gap.
like say like with the touch competitions and stuff to get people to come up and.
Because we were
give it a
saying with
go.
football as well, doing it something like that during summer, everyone's a lot more inclined to give stuff a try and stay out a little bit later because it's a bit warmer and it's a bit lighter.
Nice, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Well, that's it, because we played in the summer football. So as a team, obviously we know we need to go out there and tell people about us because people don't know. So we've played in the summer football, we've played in the netball, we've played in the rounders, we go in the longboats.
I was just about to say, did you do the Viking longboats?
Yeah, so it's something we try, tin baths and snake race. So probably a whole host of other things. And that said, you did
Yeah, we did
Was it-
T2 triathlon. I mean, we pulled the fire engine
Oh,
on
yeah.
the promenade. It's just like if there's a charity event or an event that involves a team, then you'll typically find us in it.
So it's definitely not from not trying that people don't know of you. What else do you think you need to do to make yourselves known to the island?
Good question. I think it's something that we've picked up a little bit more this year, and it's something the lads have always done. We are going a bit more down the sponsorship route, which isn't something maybe we've done. We've had a team sponsor before, which at the moment is Shaw and has been for a couple of years. They're really good to us. But we're now trying to go down the route of different sponsorship opportunities. So we last season got 2 games sponsored, which the boys have always done, but now this year we've got 4 games sponsored out of our 7. We've now got some Dola Yachts are sponsoring. They've bought us shorts and they're doing that. We've got some Santander International have been amazing. They've got we've got balls, or match balls sponsored. They're doing some other bits as well. So, and we've got some more opportunities coming up. So I think that's something as well. If we can get the sponsorship side, we can put some more money into it, get our PR going a little bit and link up with them. So
That's Ace. It does sound like you're looked after. It just sounds like you just need more players, basically. Always, yeah. Have you been watching the World Cup?
Of course.
Nat can cover this one.
Yeah.
What do you make of it?
Well, I'm just back from Japan, so I was very
Oh,
lucky. I got to
amazing.
spend 2 weeks out there to go and see some of the games.
What was your highlight?
Just the Japanese people. I mean, I've never been to Asia before, and it's everything you expect and more. I mean, everything that someone will tell you about a kind of typical friendly Japanese person is dead right, and the experience has been brilliant. I think this tournament has just been the amount of cards that have been given out. It's just been a bit of an odd one. The kind of focus now on the contact and the tackling and the injuries and the contact with the head and the amount of yellow cards and red cards that have been given that have completely changed the way a game could go from maybe only 10-15 minutes in. I think it's been a weird tournament, but the fact that it's held in Japan and it's kind of opening a sport up to the whole of Asia, which hasn't typically been a big rugby nation, that Japan are doing so well, and from being there and seeing how the people have embraced it, I think it's great for the country and stuff. It's just a shame the games are so early in the day now that I'm back home.
Yeah. We've been getting up early to go and watch them, to watch them on TV.
Good dedication. Do you see the Women's Rugby World Cup heading in the same direction as the men's? Can you see it being that big with that amount of coverage and that amount of people in the stands?
I think so. I'd like to hope so. There was definitely a lot more PR going around it, and like the last World Cup, we all, as a group, about 15, maybe a bit more of that, we all went out to Belfast and we went to watch, and it was, when you're there, it feels like it's so big and it's this big event, but it's definitely something that's on the rise. You can see it. There's more like female commentators coming on. There's more of the social media. They're getting more coverage on television. So I'd like to hope that it's going to go.
That's good. Yeah, Daisy, because you obviously mentioned watching rugby. Do you watch much women's rugby?
I've started to a little bit. I've got to admit, this may sound a little bit. I was a bit like, when I watched it the first time, not underwhelmed, but just adjusting to it because it's obviously different from men's. Not like comparing it to the men's because it is different from them. So I don't think there needs to be like that direct comparison because.
And I think a lot of people do that. They immediately say,
oh, they can't kick it as far or something like
women
that.
and men's sports are exactly the same and one's going to be more exciting than the other, which just isn't the case because they're very different.
But no, I watched, I think it was a Sevens game on, I think it was this weekend actually. And you can see the skill in the play and the speeds with other women. So yeah, I'm starting to get into it a little bit more now.
What about everyone else? Do you watch much women's rugby on the telly? Is it easily accessible? I don't know where you would watch it.
They've started streaming the Premiership games online, so they're not kind of typically broadcast just on normal TV. And the Women's World Cup this next time round is in New Zealand, so I don't know who will have the kind of broadcasting rights for that. But it's harder to watch women's rugby because it's not as accessible. But I guess that all comes around to the fact that without the viewing numbers, you don't have the sponsorship, and then it can't be shown. But I mean, as Daisy was saying with the sevens, actually, like women's sevens, I find more enjoyable than the men's sevens because it's a more kind of tactical game and it's good fun. The fact that we've got Olympics next year and sevens now featuring the Olympics, that kind of boosts it. But the women's game is improving now that England women have been given contracts and paid contracts. That then kind of allows women to invest their time in being better at the sport, and that brings the level up. But that's, it's not going to be an overnight change, and that's one team. You kind of need for Wales, Ireland, Scotland to follow suit, so it becomes a bit more of a challenge. You kind of don't just want it to be England and New Zealand, but
yeah, absolutely.
I think it'll change over time.
Yeah. Sorry, Daisy.
I would say the Six Nations results as well have become a bit more accessible because maybe you don't watch it, but you can actually hear who's won the game and who's winning in the tournament now.
They talk about it around the men's game. They say, and usually if you go to watch, the women are either before or after, so they're usually in the same.
In the same place. That's always helpful.
Yeah, or they show highlights after the men's game, which I think is good as well. If you're already tuned in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Get that in.
Yeah. So the contracts for the England team, does that mean the women now don't have to work as well as train to be a professional athlete?
Yeah, they've done 28, I think. Is that the number?
I think there's 28 contracts, and then they also have these kind of like secondary contracts where they kind of financially back people in kind of part of their career, and that's it's a massive change.
It's going to be a big help to like because they just want, and by giving these contracts to these women, it can then just up their game, and then by upping their game, they're going to up the game of the people they play with, which is only then going to, like, anyone that's watching, it's going to be like, right, aspire. If that's what they can achieve, where can I go to? So hopefully it's a progression. It's
just, I find it quite mad that that's only happening now. And again, I know it's like, I sound like a parrot, but it's a bit of, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, because people say the women's game isn't as far along as the men's game. But when women athletes have to work as well, like they can't dedicate their time to progress themselves, or like how's the sport going to progress when there's so few opportunities because women are having to work full time as well, and then it's the catch-22 of like, well, if the sport's not progressing, people might not find it interesting to watch, but you need the sponsorship to progress the players and then eventually get the coverage. So it feels like a bit of a slog. And I do find that in this day and age, it's not as far along as it should be.
No, I'd agree. There's a documentary on YouTube. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it follows the Wales team, just a couple of their players. It's only 15 minutes and it's well worth a watch. But one of the girls they follow, her day is ridiculous. She's a vet and she's up at the crack of dawn to go and do her fitness training, to then come home, to then go to work, to then have to make her way to the Wales training facility to go and do the rugby training, to then come home, basically sleep for like 3 hours and then repeat, and it's just an insane day. I mean, we train 2 nights a week and play every second or third weekend, and that on top of a full-time job can feel like a strain sometimes. So the fact that they're playing at that level and working full-time is just...
And
still
the
not getting the
expectations
coverage.
are probably still the same as the men's team, who predominantly the men's game is professional, whether they're playing for England, Wales, or just playing in the Premiership or top division. So the expectations are still the same for any club. Go and win, do what you need to do. So it's shocking that they're expecting them to do it on the same, but not from the same playing field.
I think it also just shows the commitment people have to it. If that's the actual truth, that you're getting up really early, then doing your job, then going again, and then having a couple of hours sleep. I think and then maybe not having the attention that you'd perhaps hope. I think that's still credit to being so committed to something.
Absolutely. Imagine how well you could perform, in a game if you have that drive and that commitment in just... working off, I'm assuming, very little sleep, for a very physically demanding thing, and then a mentally demanding thing in work. It's I don't think people give it credit for how difficult it would be. I mean, I can't speak from experience. I love sleeping in, and I'll just train late. Oh no, I missed it again. I'll just train tomorrow. But yeah, it does make me kind of sad. So it's interesting to get your thoughts on it as well. How far away, in terms of years and whatnot, do you think women's rugby, where in the future can you see it being on a completely level playing field with the men's? Coverage, sponsorship, pay?
No. I'd like to think it would. But like you say, there are more people getting involved, but and I'd love more people to be involved, but I just don't know if it's ever going to hit that full peak as the men. But because in an ideal world, if you could say every women's team playing in the Premiership was on a contract and they could be paid for that, but where I couldn't give you a timescale for that. I don't know.
Is the Premiership one league below professional?
The Premiership's kind of like just your club team, so
Sorry.
it's actually like professional for your country, and then out of the Premiership you get picked for England. I think that's how it works.
So all the full-time England contracts have gone to people playing in the Premiership. Predominantly it's like 3 teams that they've gone to, and I don't even know how many teams are in the Premiership, but the 3 teams have got the majority of the full-time contracts. So then you think about that, they're going to be the ones they're going to stay as probably the top 3 teams, because they've got the most doing that, playing that way. So yeah, I don't know how many are in the Premiership actually. Couldn't speculate.
I don't know exactly how many. No,
but even with them, they have development teams as well that are feeding into them.
That's the thing. I think as people start in our team, I think most of us have started playing rugby at a kind of later age, and that's why it's great that we've got Daisy, and there's quite a few girls now who are 13, 14 who are starting to come up in rugby as their first sport. But until it's kind of embedded in schools, because of the issue that you can only play against your own age group, that we have young ones at youth training who, as soon as they hit high school and then can't train against the boys anymore, they go and find another sport because they want to play our sport, so end up moving. And you're not going to go and play a sport for 8 years and then return to rugby necessarily. So I think until it's kind of embedded in schools and adopted there, and then it'll filter up, and then you've got numbers and competition, then it might improve. But even in the Premiership, the kind of difference between the top team and the bottom team is quite big. The difference between our league and the league above is quite something. It's quite spaced out. So,
well, that's it's quite a heavy topic we've just covered. Let's talk about some more fun things. So let's go back to this hair pulling incident. So what have you ever? So a standard question I will ask is: have you ever had any Red Ross moments, like during a game, where you've just lost it and you've done something very uncharacteristic? Have you ever done anything a little bit naughty during a game?
Off the record. It's not cheating if you don't get caught. I think on the basketball one I spoke about when I got ejected and had my little temper tantrum. But I think at rugby, because there is that, you can't really hide. Like, so you're on that very exposed pitch. You're on that. I've witnessed a few things. If we talk about Karina when she had her hair pulled, she wears a scrum cap. She's got really long hair. It was in a plait, or it might have been it, but anyway, it's really long. I mean, I can get the urge to want to pull it. Like, if she's running, I can get that. It's something to grab a hold of, and so she did. Then did she get a red, yellow, red? She got a card
of some.
There was a card of
She went
some.
Rocky Balboa on.
Yeah, she went full. Like, I remember once Karina tackled me, and then she, by accident, obviously we're on the same team, she tackled me and then went to go for me and went to go for someone else. I was like, I'm on your team. So yeah, she's probably the one with the biggest red Ross, I think, that I can think of.
It's funny how hair pulling is the thing that does it, though. I mean,
Yeah.
someone could probably up and smack you, and you'd take it a lot calmer than if someone pulls your hair. It just seems
It's quite
to be
a personal
the
thing, isn't it, to
thing
pull?
is to pull someone's hair.
Yeah. I've seen Fran take a boot to the head, and she just got up, and the ref was like, "You all right?" She was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Just walked off, and I was like, I think I would be a bit more angry than that, but I think she was doing it to show that
Concussed.
to show that I think she was doing it to show that she couldn't be fazed by anything
Yeah.
like that. So
That's
it's a bit of
not respond, and then you just go and get them by smashing
Yeah.
them, and just feel like see them into next week.
Yeah, totally agree. Just leave it all out on the court and beat them.
It's so much more satisfying when if they do something and they think they've got the better of you, you either run around them or you score, or you can just give them a little glance and a
Absolutely. Daisy, you seem like a really angry person.
I can't really say much about this because I've not actually played a proper contact game in a team. In my family, I've definitely got a reputation of being bad-tempered. Yeah, I've played against my cousins, and they're like boys, that I have picked one up and ran with him because he was just trying to run around and show off. So
spear tackle.
Yeah. So it's more with family where you're probably more comfortable anyway to be able to be angry, but
We are family, all of us.
I think that's a good thing though about if anything does happen on the pitch or someone goes to someone in your team,
Someone
one
behind you,
all in.
Yeah.
Like that's something that you hear quite often. Like you will go and you'll protect them and you will help them. And if someone's done something to your teammate, you're like, don't worry, I'll get them for you. If they're not,
Love
so
that feeling,
you've got
yeah.
each other's back.
Anyone else? Sami, Natalie?
No, I've not had any fire-breathing moments. I
I
don't
don't
think.
think so. I think as a team we're really good at kind of not stooping to the level of other teams when they've maybe...
You probably
on
have
the
it going
tactics.
through your head, I think, a few
Yeah.
times, but you're too busy concentrating on the next play and trying to keep going with what you're doing. I don't find as much time to think. Like, obviously you're thinking about what you're doing, but
It's happening so fast, you have to move
It's
on to the
already
next
in the past.
thing. Yeah.
Let it go.
More than
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's a
You
common
can't
thing,
say
isn't it?
anything, so it makes it worse.
Okay, so
Is that a common thing in rugby to get angry at the ref?
I think it's a common attitude, maybe perhaps, that people blame the ref for things that have gone wrong. Maybe, oh, that's an unfair ref, he's biased, that's why you've lost the game.
that's something we find across sometimes. If the refs know the team
by name.
by name or they're married to the team, and it's fine to be mad
Yeah.
because obviously I'm a man. We know the refs, but I don't think that always works in our favour. Whereas
It's the
across
opposite.
it can do. We've on occasions we found that.
Do you get many female refs on the island or female rugby officials?
One on Ireland,
Just one?
Yeah, it's just a lot.
Lana.
Yeah.
She used to play for us.
Wow.
But then she's gone to the dark side.
Yes.
She's gone to the dark side. But no, she's very confident. She's had to ref, obviously being the only team here. She refs in the men's game. She went away the other week, didn't
Yeah,
she?
she's away this weekend, just gone.
She's
Reffing a game.
recently had a baby as well, so she's coming back from that.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
just one night. But I think it's becoming a bit more of a thing in the UK because I think of like Joy Neville and a few other people. They're now starting to get more females reffing, particularly in men's games. That's where it's making a bit more of a difference, showing that they can do it as well.
We were talking about this in the football episode, actually, of the crowds and players' response to having a female referee. Have you seen any games where there's been a woman referee and you've seen like a change in attitude from players or crowd?
I don't think so.
I don't think I've first hand seen a female ref a men's game. I mean, we had a female ref in the UK for one of our games, and I mean, apart from I didn't know whether to call her sir or not, I don't think I was any kind of
What do we
difference
call
in the
you?
game, but it's just, you know, I think you respect the fact that you need a ref to allow the game to go ahead, so you're just kind of grateful that someone's prepared to give up 2 hours of their time to ref your game.
Yeah, absolutely.
As much as you cannot agree with it, you just got to get on with it.
Yeah, true. And speaking of games, haven't you got a really big one coming up soon?
They're all big.
I saw on your Instagram story you were counting down, was it hours or days?
Oh, I've not seen that.
I haven't seen it either. I think it's because it's our first home game.
First
So.
home.
It's your first home game.
Yeah.
When is it?
So this
Saturday.
Ooh, okay. How are you feeling? How are people feeling?
I think people are feeling ready for it from the training session. I think there's quite, again, that serious in the
Focus.
in the mindset for it. So it's nice to see that.
Excited. I love a home game. I love any game, but I love a home game when you've just got everyone there.
Do you get a lot of people watching, cheering you on?
weather depending?
Yeah.
But yeah, we do, like, we get our same diehards, like Janice is always there, Nat's sister, and then Mum's always there. Like, there's people that are there week in, week out. But yeah, weather pending, I think, is a big one. I mean, sometimes I don't want to be out there when the rain's going sideways. So, but yeah, no, it is a big game this weekend. It is we're playing against Sale. They're a newly formed team to our league, so the team's made up of players that have played either in our league previously, the league above, or the league below. So quite a few of them have been to the island before. Some of their players used to play for us and have now moved away. So it's going to be quite interesting. Like, I think it's going to be a fight. I think it's going to be, but a good fight.
What are your predictions?
Win.
Yeah.
Good, I like it.
Yeah. I
like the
really don't see
confidence.
why not. I'm looking forward to this game because I didn't play the last game, so this will be
It's my
my
first
first
game.
game of this season, and the way training's gone and having watched the girls play in the last game, it was so good, and just to build on that, we always do well at home. I think we just, you know, it's our pitch and we look after it.
It's your house, yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't think there's a team that we can't beat in this league. The way we're playing at the moment, the way the team's gone, the way the coaching's gone, Rhian is just so good at this, and I think everyone's ready for it. There's a confidence there that we maybe haven't had in the past, and
I think regardless of whether people have little nerves creeping in or whatever, we're all in the same mindset that we want that game to be ours, and we're not going to settle for anything less. So we'll try and go out there and smash it.
Yeah, we have our game plan. We know what we want to do. We know what we need to achieve. We know how we're going to play. Obviously, there's going to be hurdles that get in the way, but as long as we keep our heads and keep steady, then, like Nat said, the girl said, we've got no reason not to beat not only this team, but any team in our league, any team we come across at all.
it's quite nice when you've not played a team before as well, because you've no expectancy, isn't it? I mean, you can kind of get caught up in training and remembering what a team did the previous year and then find out that the team is totally different, the tactics are completely different. So actually to go out focusing only on your game plan and what you're going to do, I think it's actually better than worrying about what someone else is going to do.
There's one of those Nike motivational posters. If I say it wrong, I'm going to sound like an idiot. It's something like, oh no, I'm going to say it wrong. Like, winners don't focus on losers, basically. Like, losers focus on winners. Oh no. Basically, just focus on yourself.
Yeah.
But Nike phrased it a little
that's
bit
the
more
only thing
catchily.
you can control. We can't control what they can do.
Exactly.
We can't control anything but what we can do. And like that's the I've never really been bothered about other teams that we've played before, or whether in a season we lost them away but we'll beat them. Like, you only can play what's on that day. Like, the weather can be such a bit. Like, if I think back to a team that we've always had a bit of a grudge match with, was Crewe and Nantwich. Now they're not in our league this year, but they are typically or historically a very quick, pacey team with all the legs in the world. Like, literally go to tackle them and legs just sprout out of nowhere and they run around you. Away to there, we lost quite convincingly. They came to us and we thought, oh, do you know what? It is what it is. We'll just go out there, give it a big battle. We didn't think we would lose. Obviously, don't go with that mindset. But we came away from that day, we won 8-0. They hadn't not scored. They hadn't lost in about 2 or 3 years. But again, that was the weather helped us. That was our kind of weather. It was raining sideways. Literally, you couldn't see what colour your shirt was. It was that muddy, which wasn't their kind of game. So, and literally anything can happen.
And I guess if they're not used to travelling, like, you guys must be so used to travelling and playing pretty tired, I would assume.
Yeah, 4:30 start in the morning isn't necessarily
That's horrible.
the ideal way to start a game, and when flights are delayed, and the twice that we played in Sheffield, I think we didn't even get half a lap of the pitch as a warm-up and you were straight into playing. But yeah, it kind of just makes you a close-knit team, I guess, because you all have to just get on with it, and everyone's in the same boat, and you just get on. It's
do your job.
Yeah.
I've just got a couple more questions. What is it about rugby that you love so much that makes you get up and it gives you the motivation to keep playing, considering I would imagine it'd be very easy to get beaten down, just like we've got no one to play against, like this is a slog, like we work and you do all this stuff to sort of try and make yourselves known, and you're still relatively unknown, it seems, unfortunately, and numbers aren't on the rise. Hopefully that changes. But what is it about the sport and your team that gives you the motivation to just keep playing?
I would say how passionate it is, just and also that you do know that there's going to be people out there who are going to be with you, supporting you, even if it's hard. It like pushes you. It's a nice environment to be in, and everyone's really enthusiastic. So I think that even if it's maybe raining outside, you're like, oh, but then you think, no, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to work hard with people, have some fun, and I'll feel better for it. So
Definitely. It's always satisfying when you get in and you get cosy and warm after working hard outside in the rain.
I think for me it's like the camaraderie, the teamwork, the support. Like I know whether it be at training or on the pitch for 80 minutes that the whole team, even if I've had a disagreement with someone the day before, or it doesn't happen often, but if you've had a falling out on that pitch, they're going to cover my back and they're going to have me. And that even extends to off the pitch, so like even to stop asking the girls for favours, or can we do something, can we do that after the match. If you're down in your pint and you can't do it, someone will come and help you, or you're going like if needed. So like it literally just extends to so much. So it's just the camaraderie and support that everyone gives, no matter who you are, whether you've just started, whether you've played for years. Everyone's there for each other.
There's a big unity, I think. Like there's a big family feel. Like so, I've got 2 young kids. Sometimes I'm scratching around for childcare at the weekends, and I'm not saying that everyone bring your kids down because the girls are going to look after them. But my husband plays hockey. That's how we met. So quite often his games are at the same time as ours. If I need childcare, that some of the girls, if they're not playing for any reason, they'll quite happily offer to look after my kids while I play. So I think we're one big family unit. So you don't mind going out in the pouring rain to spend time with people that have a like mind like you.
My mum plays netball, and she said one of the things she loves about playing Sunday morning netball is that in that hour game, she doesn't. This sounds really good. She doesn't have to be a mum. No, but she's not a mum, and she's not a teacher, and she's not a wife. She's an athlete, and she's on court doing her job. Do you have a similar feeling to that as a mum when you're playing rugby?
Chance to get away from my kids now. There's a little bit of truth in that. So I'm on maternity at the moment. So I'm with my kids 24/7. It is nice to get that little bit of time to yourself, to have some adult conversation, to mess about a little bit and not really have to worry about anything else. It just clears your mind. So yeah, it's nice.
A good reset button.
Yeah. And exercise always makes you feel good.
I think best thing for me and why I kind of love going out with it is that I've probably met 20, 30 people that I would not have met because our paths wouldn't have crossed if it wasn't through rugby. And everyone is so different, and everyone is from such different backgrounds and does really different jobs, but we all do have that kind of same common theme that we're prepared to get up and do what we need to do for the team. And that, I mean, we always throw the family word around, but it's really meant there is that kind of like we stick together, and on the pitch we stick together. And you might be closer friends with some of the girls outside of rugby than others. There might be some that you literally only see in rugby, but whilst you're on the pitch or in a Vagas top or up at the clubhouse, at that point in time you're all this equal. And whether you've played for 1 year, 20 years, 10 years, there's no kind of like you have to pay your dues and kind of earn your place. It's everyone is there to play. And I think you're just appreciative because we are the only team on Ireland. You're kind of grateful that you need at least 14 other people for you to be able to play, and you need for that team to continue going so that the next set of players can play. So I think it's just kind of a kind of common goal that we're all after, which kind of makes it all worthwhile.
I guess in this day and age as well, you're hearing more and more about digital isolation because people are just on their phones all the time, and team sports are the perfect opportunity where you don't see people stood on their phones. People are there interacting with one another, and like you say, you've all mentioned the word family, and that's a really important feeling to have, in a time where loneliness is on the up and up. Massively prevalent. Finally, what would you like for the future of women's rugby on the island, and what would your words of wisdom to people who could be listening to this podcast and kind of on the fence about it, what would you say to them to encourage them to take it up?
I'd probably like younger people so I could actually play.
Absolutely, Daisy.
So that would be nice, so I could have a proper match. I know there was some stuff in Ramsey with younger people, which I did try, but it just wasn't really for me. I don't know. There was just something like atmosphere-wise. It was nicer with the proper ladies team. So I'd probably like some younger people. There are a couple. There's probably about 5 younger girls around my age, but it would be nice to have a team so you could actually at least even in training do contact, probably the proper game, even though tag's nice. So yeah, I'd actually say about the fitness and going out and about outdoors, because I used to swim for the island, and I stopped that because of time and issues, and I missed that fitness. And then getting back into rugby, it's definitely nice to be feeling fit and healthy again, and actually encourages you to then do more outside of that. So even though you just get into maybe 2 hours a week in, that suddenly makes it easier to do more. And it's got me back into the pool, swimming, more outlets again of activities. And then again, going outside, outdoors is just nice. Even if it is raining and windy, it does make you feel
more motivated.
Yeah, I was going to say alive, but
no, alive is better. Yeah, it opens up a lot of doors to other sports and just being a bit more healthy, I guess, in general, by the sounds of it.
It makes you feel better about yourself, definitely.
And that is never a bad thing.
No, never.
Lauren?
I think I've said this before, but give it a go. What have you got to lose? We've had so many people come up through different paths, different avenues, from sports, from no sports, different size, different speed, different litres. We can cater for everyone, even if you don't want to come and play, but you want to get involved socially or just come and train. There's always options, there's always events going on. Anyone can come give it a go, and like I say, you've got nothing to lose. If you don't like it, you don't like it, but I think people will be surprised, and they probably will like it.
Yeah, same thing really. But if you've ever thought about coming up or anything like that, or you've thought in the back of your head, I can't do that because of this, or I can't do that because of my kids or whatever, then take a leap of faith and just do it, because it'll make a massive difference. Like Lauren says, you'll be surprised. So I was, and they can't get rid of me now. So
yeah, I don't think I've got anything to add. I think Lauren's completely nailed it. That it's just to kind of park any ideas that you might have and any kind of thoughts that just kind of forget everything that you think it might be and try it. And you've wasted an hour and a half of your life if you didn't enjoy it. But I'd just
No, you're not very welcome.
Ultimately, we do need, and that is something going forward, we do need more people coming through, because at some point we're all going to retire and Daisy's going to have no one to play with.
Again.
So long term, and that is, and like we said, there are people coming through, and as they get older, maybe the conceptions might disappear, or there might be more people come through. But yeah, we just come and give it a go.
Come and help Daisy, guys.
Yeah, Daisy needs friends.